Former House and Urban Development Secretary Dr. Ben Carson speaking out in the Washington Post saying, quote, moving our focus from equality to equity will not defeat racism. America First Policy Institute's Jack Brewer joining me now with his take on all of this. Jack, how did we get so far away from Dr. King's vision of a colorblind America?
You know, the racial tensions and the racial divide in our nation right now have gone well beyond skin color. It's now going into society, and you see organizations like Black Lives Matter enriching themselves, and you see politicians like the Congressional Black Caucus. They raise millions and millions of dollars by inciting the flames of division in our nation, and it's really sad. I mean, this is how people are staying in power. You think about it, you look at our communities, and you see that our reading and math proficiency levels are so low, educational levels are so low. We have fatherlessness running rampant throughout our black culture. You would think this would cause leaders, particularly black leaders, to stand up against this, but it doesn't. They continue to want to perpetuate this evilness so that they can stay in power, raise money, and keep folks voting for those democratic policies that have failed not just black America, but every segment of American society.
So, Jack, you're saying that they are putting money and power ahead of racial equity, even though they continue to talk about it.
Clearly. I mean, think about it. If you spend $25,000 per kid per school year and you're sending kids to public schools and they can't read and write, I go into the public schools, David. I spend time there. I see it. No one can tell me. I see how these black kids are suffering. I see how these black parents are suffering. They can't even choose where the government is spending the money on their children. They're forcing them to put them in schools where they're indoctrinating these babies, making them believe that they're victims. And now you see, you know, people like Maxine Waters and all these folks in Congress who stand up and support BLM, and they support these anti-Christ movements, but in their own communities, in their own backyards, you see what's happening to the African Americans there. They don't stand up for these people. Just this weekend in Chicago, 24 African Americans got shot. They don't say a word about that when these things happen. These are mass murders, and you hear nothing out of the mouths of these Congressional Black Caucus members because they cannot raise money for it. They cannot put money into their political parties, so they don't say a word about it.
Well, you have been hearing some things from Maxine Waters over the weekend, and it's not the sort of things that you and I might agree on. Let me just play. Maxine Waters was in Minnesota, and she was talking to some people who were involved in the unrest there, some of which has spilled into violent forms of unrest. Let me just play her remarks and then get your reaction. Go ahead.
Well, we got to stay on the street, and we've got to get more active. We've got to get more confrontational. We've got to make sure that they know that we mean business.
What does more confrontational mean, Jack?
She's promoting our black folks to continue to act like thugs in the streets, have no discipline, disobey police officers, and be lawless. This is all in Scripture. This is in the Bible. It's ridiculous to have an African-American leader. She should be the representation of a mother figure to African-Americans. And for her to go out there and tell these kids to keep being more confrontational when they're out there burning up businesses and you have violence that's just running rampant through Minneapolis. I went to school in Minneapolis. That was a beautiful city, vibrant city. I went there because there was so much opportunity for African-American people to come there and work. And now you don't even want to go there. It looks like a war-torn area has just plagued this city. Maxine Waters should be ashamed of herself. The Democratic Black Caucus needs to wake up, and America needs to take a stand against this violent tone of speech coming out of the left right now. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Jack, meanwhile, we don't want to leave people feeling hopeless in all this, and there is great hope. There's hope in alternatives that really haven't been explored sufficiently. A lot of African Americans realize that charter schools and various policies that give parents and individual students more choice do work. They provide a competitive environment in which these kids very often thrive. There are organizations that allow these opportunities to exist, but they are defeated every time they come up to a vote in Congress by the Congressional Black Caucus. They're highly opposed by the teachers' unions themselves, because a lot of these schools are non-union. How are things going to work out there? Won't sanity gain the upper hand eventually in providing more choice for education for inner city kids?
As long as we can get that exact message out, David. The problem is that our media right now is suppressing the message. I get so much positive feedback now from African Americans that call me and say, just today, a few of my NFL buddies, bro, you were right about BLM. People just don't know. Even folks who you think are aware of what's going on, they don't really understand the ins and outs of what's going on in our society right now. And so these African American kids of all races, we keep talking about black, but all kids need opportunity. We need more coaches. Right. We need discipline. And if we don't have fathers in the house and we don't promote family unit and family structure in our nation, we'll never thrive.
Right.
That is the root cause of the issues we see.
And that's, by the way, hitting all races. It may be particularly severe in inner cities, but it's hitting all races and stratas of society, the fatherless households, which are really hurting. Jack Brewer, great stuff. Thank you very much, Jack. I appreciate you coming in.
God bless you, David.
Thank you. Same to you.